want more content like this, check out that video right over there. Remember to leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.
Chandler. So the Terminator tells the story of a cybernetic killing machine sent back in time to murder the mother of the eventual human savior. Welcome everybody to the Terminator review series leading up to the release of Terminator Dark Fate this November. So every single week, just like I did with Rambo, you're gonna get a Terminator review every Tuesday. Unless something happens, then maybe a Wednesday. But once a week, you're getting a Terminator review leading up to the release of the new film. And also, like the Rambo review series, I am also doing this one in partnership with my buddy Sean Chandler over at Sean Chandler Talks About. So, unlike the Rambo series, him and I both grew up with this franchise. So I think you're gonna have a lot more inline thoughts between both of us, but maybe some different feelings on the sequels. We will see. Those three movies tend to be very controversial and a lot of different likes and loves and hates amongst movie fans. But at least for these first two reviews, I think you're gonna find a lot of similarities between me and Sean Chandler's thoughts. But to check me on that, click down below in the video description or the pinned comment and you will find his channel. Go over there, like his video, watch his video, subscribe to his channel, and tell him that Cody sent you. So, talking about the original Terminator, let's go. So this is the one that started it all. This was, for all intents and purposes, James Cameron's first film. Yes, he did Piranha 2, but this was the first, like, James Cameron story brought to life by James Cameron, having to do with the writing, directing it, bringing it all to life. This is basically the first time that the world got to see what James Cameron was made of and what the Terminator was made of. It launched the career of Arnold Schwarzenegger into superstardom. It launched the careers of Michael Biehn, as well as Linda Hamilton. It kind of gave the sci-fi action genre, and for this one at least, the sci-fi horror genre, a bit of a kick in the nuts. So the Terminator is one of those iconic premiere movies from the 1980s, and it gave us one of the biggest blockbuster franchises that has ever existed. So, kicking it off with the positives for the Terminator, surprisingly for some of you, the biggest thing that stands out to me about this original film is the relationship and the love story between Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor. It's not really the focus of the film, or at least so it seems. It seems like kind of this thing that just happens out of nowhere on paper. But when you talk about these two characters of Sarah Connor, this average lady that's, you know, working at a diner, doesn't really feel like she has this huge place in the universe, certainly doesn't feel like she has a huge place in, you know, the fate of humanity, and this seemingly random soldier, Kyle Reese, that gets sent back in time to protect her against Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator. They seem like two characters that were just brought together by these circumstances, otherwise would have never had any kind of interaction, would have never had any kind of fate tied to each other. And throughout the runtime of the film, you find out that it's anything but that. And it actually ends up being like this really effective, one of the most effective romances that I've ever seen on film between these two characters, brought together by war, where one of them hasn't really experienced the war, brought together across timelines, and also brings kind of this bittersweet sadness to the paradox of time travel, where Kyle Reese is sent back by John Connor to protect his mother and inadvertently becomes the father of John Connor.
John Connor gave me a picture of you once. I didn't know why at the time. It's very old, torn, faded. You were young like you are now. You seem just a little sad.
Does John Connor know about that when he sends him there and has to send his father to his death? Or is it just a weird time paradox? Does he find out later on? You don't really get to know all of that, but these are all questions that you have in your head through the romance of these two characters. And to me, it's the main thing that stands out about this first film, because this is the only film, fuck, I forgot about Genesis. This is the only good film that captures the relationship and the paradox love of these two characters.
I used to always wonder what you were thinking at that moment. I memorized every line, every curve. I came across time for you, Sarah. I love you. I always have.
Then you got to talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. Now, you could say everything you can about Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting ability. The dude was and probably always will be one of the biggest action stars that ever lived. And yes, the character of the Terminator definitely plays into some of his flaws as an actor. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is very effective at action. He's effective at that kind of 80s cheese with the one-liners, and I think he does really well with comedy, in my personal opinion. I love Twins. But whenever you really look at him as an actor, he can be a little bit wooden, he can be a little bit, pun intended, robotic. And when you give him a role like this, it plays into all of that. It utilizes his flaws for the strength of this villain. And it's perfect for this first film where you see Arnold Schwarzenegger as the villain, which is the only movie in this franchise, and we'll see about Dark Fate, where Schwarzenegger is playing the villain. It works. It really just brings apart this killing machine theme that they have with this Terminator. Like, just the name, Terminator. He exists only to fuck you up. And when you have Arnold Schwarzenegger as the skin over top of that metal skeleton, you believe that this dude is gonna fuck you up.
I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told that she's here. Could I see her, please?
No, can't see her. She's making a statement.
Where is she?
Look, it may take a while. You want to wait? There's a bench over there.
I'll be back.
Oh, and hold on to your chair or whatever it is that you're sitting by to watch this review, because I'm about to make a very bold statement, which to me shouldn't be a bold statement, but every time I make it, it somehow ends up being an argument. So, The Terminator is one of the greatest slasher films. That's right, I said it. The Terminator is a slasher film. Yes, there's action elements. Yes, there's sci-fi elements. But this, just like it being the only film that focuses on the romance successfully of Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor, just like being the only film where Schwarzenegger is the villain of the film, this is the only film in the franchise that is actually a horror film. Yes, sci-fi, action, and horror. And what subgenre of horror does the Terminator effectively fit into but the slasher genre? You take Arnold Schwarzenegger in this film, you throw a hockey mask on him, and this bitch is Jason Voorhees chasing down his victims. The movie opens up with him just kicking open doors and laying waste to random people trying to get to his victim. The rest of the film is him tirelessly hunting down and stalking and eventually, if he's successful, killing his target. The Terminator is a slasher icon, baby. Believe it. And with that being said, I think that the horror aspects that they go for with this original film are done effectively. There's a lot more gore in this one. It's not a gore fest by any means, but you know, him carving out his eye, shoving his arm inside of a guy and, you know, ripping it out. I don't know if he's pulling out his heart or if he just, you know, fucking harpooned the guy and pulled out a bloody stump, but they go for the gore in this one. They go for the horror. They want the Terminator to be a scary character, this unstoppable, strength-fueled, motiveless killing machine that has one purpose in life, and that is to fulfill its computerized mission, which is to put that bitch in the ground. And he's not stopping for anybody. You can't reason with him, you can't talk to him, you can't negotiate with him. He's here to kill you, and until you kill him, that is his only mission in this universe. That is some scary shit, and I think this first movie does a very effective job at carrying that forward.
The
Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop. Ever. Until you are dead.
Now, moving on from the horror into the other genre that this film is most known for, that really the rest of the franchise really took by the balls and ran with, and that is the action. And this movie's also a very effective action film. From the first time that you see Kyle Reese and the Terminator and Sarah Connor all together in that nightclub, whenever things really hit the fan and you find out exactly what Kyle Reese is there to do, it's pretty much action with very few stops in between, mostly focusing on the romance, which is very effective of those two characters, but it's basically action sequence from chase sequence to gun sequence to pipe bomb sequence to that whole finale in that machinery factory, whatever the fuck you want to call it, where everything comes to a head. It's a very action-centric slasher film, and the action is just as effective, if not more effective, arguably, than the horror aspects, being that that's what predominantly this franchise has become known for, is a sci-fi action franchise.
Come with me if you want to live.
And one of the biggest things too that I really noticed on this most recent rewatch of the Terminator is that it does a really good job at telling its story in a very non-conventional way.
How could that man just get up after you did?
It's not a man. Machine. Terminator. Cyberdyne Systems Model 101.
Typically you get your exposition out in the beginning of your film, you set everything up, the audience knows exactly what's going on, they know where all the pieces are. The second act is where, things start to kind of come to a head and things get these rising actions, eventually falling into the climax in the third act where everything resolves itself. Well, a lot of the exposition, a lot of the underbelly of this storyline and where a lot of its heart lies, especially in the romance between the two main characters, is kind of told in pieces throughout this storyline. They give you just enough to kind of go off of to get the story going to where you understand what Arnold Schwarzenegger is and why he's chasing after Linda Hamilton, but you don't quite know what Kyle Reese is until about halfway through the film. You don't even really know what his place is in the story other than this random soldier that just happens to be there to fight the Terminator until damn near the third act of the film, whenever they finally kind of consummate their relationship and you understand where John Connor actually comes from. And it's just a really cool and successful non-conventional way of telling this what could be very complicated storyline and a very convoluted storyline in the wrong hands. And James Cameron just was not the wrong hands. He told this story great, and he told it in a very different way. If you got this movie nowadays, all of that stuff with Kyle Reese and everything would probably be told in the first 20 minutes of the film. I also think they do a really great job considering the age of this film and considering the fact that this was a pretty low budget film, which seems crazy to say for a Terminator film, but the first one was a very low budget film for what it was going for. I think that its showcase scenes of the future, the post-apocalyptic future where the Terminators and the machines and Skynet is ruling the Earth, I think those are really effective scenes. The effects, which I'll get into, are a little bit dated. You can tell that there's toys and it's a little bit miniaturized of a set. They do a much better job in some of the sequels, but as far as showing the war, as far as showing Kyle Reese and his comrades kind of down in the dirt and hiding from these machines, showing the underground of what humanity has become with these children and women, and everybody's in rags and you have to have dogs at the door to make sure that Terminators don't come in. It does a really good job at setting up the stakes of this movie beyond the fact of just, we need our main heroine to survive this. It shows the stakes of what ultimately is at cost and what is at risk if Sarah Connor gets killed, and the movie does a great job at doing that. And now moving on to my negatives, which is one negative, and it's the easiest negative, the easiest shot that you can take at this film, but unfortunately it is valid, and that is the fact that the low budget of this film does have some effects that do not age well at all. This is the one film in this franchise that has that Achilles heel of a budget. And there's scenes where like you see Arnold Schwarzenegger taking out his eye and you can tell you're looking at a fake animatronic head and somebody's just got their arms around him making it look like human hands. There's sections where the first time you actually see the T-800 endoskeleton where, you know, it's like stop motion for a few scenes when he's kind of coming out of the fire. It doesn't quite age very well. Some of the gore effects, like, it's things that probably were impressive at the time, especially for the amount of money that they had, but it's the one aspect of this film, the one, which is a positive on its own to say that, the one aspect of this film that does not age well. And the older it gets, the more that stuff stands out and you go, whew. Looks so much better in T2. But that's really all that I have to say negative about this film, guys. I think this is a bona fide classic. It's one of the best movies of all time. Gave birth to one of my favorite franchises, which has had a rocky road, but you know, we're gonna be talking about T2 next. You'll find out how much I love this franchise. But it's a great action movie. It's a great horror slasher film. It's a great premiere to this franchise, a great premiere to the character, the concept of Skynet, which is looking more and more like a reality nowadays, let's just say it. And it's just a great love story beyond all that. Like something that I typically don't dive into with a lot of movies that I have to review. There's this budding romance that is just so effective in this film, and it just really stands out as one of the best things about this original Terminator. So this is a classic, not a whole lot negative to say about it. It is awesome. So if you're a fan of sci-fi, action, horror, if you're an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, or if you want to see where this iconic franchise got its start, look no further than the original Terminator and add this classic, awesome film to your collection. Go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of The Terminator? Are you in the camp of The Terminator is the best film in this franchise, or the one we're about to get into, T2 is the best in this franchise? Go ahead and talk about that down below, and we'll have that conversation again next week when T2 drops. So please let me know down below what your thoughts are on The Terminator. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you never gotten this franchise? Is it your favorite movie of all time? And be sure to check out Sean Chandler's review down below. I'm gonna have multiple links in the video description, the pinned comment. You'll be able to find it, so check out his review. It's dropped right alongside mine, and tell him that Cody sent you. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some social media links, check the video description below for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just below that, my Teespring store for all of my merchandise. I have 31 on 31 designs already ready. I have an Autop Stream design that you guys have been eating up that is down below as well. So check that out down below, please, and get you some Cody Leach merchandise to celebrate the next month that is leading up to 31 on 31. Check all that out, and my Patreon page, which is a link down in the video description below, which is the best way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. So check all that out, guys. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, including the rest of this Terminator review series, you can check that out by clicking right over here. And I'll be back.